Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Welcome to the Real Female Entrepreneurs. Today, get ready because our next guest isn't just talking healing. She's rewriting generational history with a sparkle and a scalpel of the soul. She is the fierce force behind Somatic Archaeology, where she helps us dig up that messy stuff, the trauma, grief, addictions, and turn it into gold. She's an author, educator, humanitarian, and total goddess in action. She's been leading this work long before it became trendy. With 4 kids, 5 grandbabies, and a brand new product launching soon, she proves legacy and leadership can be downright luminous. Get ready to laugh, learn, and lean in. Please help me welcome the totally amazing Dr. Ruby Gibson. Welcome, Dr. Ruby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my God. Something had to happen in your life that created this spark for you to take on this adventure. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what happened?
Well, so many things happened simultaneously. Oh, because I started doing healing work when I was like 13,
Oh, wow.
and it just came to me. And, by the time I was 16, I was studying massage therapy, and I just started exploring everything in the healing field. And, um, it was all very important and good stuff, but I just kept taking in more and more information. And I studied in schools, I studied with individuals, I also studied in ceremony and in sweat lodges and that type of thing, um, because for me, it brought me into like a very strong spiritual journey.
That is amazing. So at a very young age, this all started, and you went to school, you practiced, you just did everything it took to make it happen, it sounds like.
Yeah, I knocked on a lot of doors and I was talking about healing historical trauma, which many people had no idea about. It was, long before um, many of the somatic modalities of today were developed.
Yep.
And I continued my studies. And by the time I got to um, go to college, they put me right into a master's program because they said, you've already completed your thesis, which was my book. I had already put an entire model together. And so they said, well, you just need to take a couple master's classes, and then we're going to put you into the PhD program.
Oh,
So,
wow. Wow.
yeah.
That is amazing. And because you started so early.
Yeah. And I just followed my instincts, followed, my guides, followed where my curiosity went. And I just always felt like I was made for this work.
So let me, is there anybody in your family that does this type of work, like older, that maybe you learned from, or did it just come naturally?
It just came naturally.
Oh, it's just your
My
gift. It's your gift.
younger sister is an acupuncturist.
Okay.
She didn't get to that till later in life. And yeah, I was kind of the, what do you call it, the strange one of the family who was
I am too.
following the following the path the least traveled. Yeah.
That is amazing. So, okay, so you started this real early and you've gone through life in with this career of healing. What would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self from what you've learned so far? Would you go back and tell your 18-year-old self?
You've been very brave
Mm.
and you've done a good job, putting so many things together. And I there are certain principles that I learned early on that helped me to know how to build a model that would work for anyone in any culture to heal generational trauma, because most of us walk around with a backpack full of things that we want to change, but we don't know how.
Yeah.
And therefore, it just kind of becomes a burden. We can talk a little more about that.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, definitely. Because that is what happens. That generational curse lingers on in the backpack, and people say, "Oh, I'm going to fix that," and they don't. They just keep going.
Mhm. So kind of look at it this way, that there are 7 generations behind us, and they all feed into us, and they feed in what they were able to survive from, how they survived, the traumas that they had, the experiences that they had that shaped them and shaped the whole family system.
Okay.
So we kind of have this blueprint, when we're born. And then ahead of us, whatever we choose to do, and we're standing at the top of this pyramid here, whatever goes down goes to the next 7 generations. So we look at it as a 14 generation impact. What we choose to bring up and to create change with means that the next generations don't have to carry that same suffering or stress or belief system. It frees up the next generations to actually create change instead of staying in a stagnant kind of fear-based way. Um, and consequently, people are able to heal addictions,
Mhm.
heal sexual assault, heal chronic pain in their body, heal even diseases, because it's all an energy that's passed forward, right? And we can look at it through our genetics, but our genetics are just, they're designed around how we look, what's familiar to us, um, our blood type, our DNA, all of that. But DNA is the train between the generations. But on top of that, what science has revealed is that there are epigenetics. And epi simply means on top of. So that genetic train also carries all of the epigenetics, which are the emotional, the experiential, the um, the way that we celebrate, the way that we live our lives, the diet that we have, how we respond to love, or how we manage our own fear.
Mm.
And it can really shape a person. And we think that it's us, but as we use our body as a way of accessing that information.
Oh.
So I want you to think of your body as a walking library. It's so full of information that's not up here in your brain, right? Because we can try and think our way out of fear, but we can't really do that, but we can feel our way out of fear. And so we identify where in the body are we managing this event, this experience, this pattern that we have. And then we go to that part of the body. And that's what I'm saying, like we start digging, because just like if we did an archaeological site on the earth, what's on the top is the most recent. And as we dig deeper and deeper, we get to older artifacts and deeper processes. And so that's why we call it somatic archaeology. It's kind of a strange combination of words together, but we're actually excavating our own self,
But
our own lineage.
yeah, you're so true because the further deeper we go down, we're going to uncover things that we never even thought of that we weren't around to see, but it generationally carries with us, correct?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
That is amazing. I love that one. And you've grown a business by doing this. I love that. That is amazing. You're an author.
Yes, my book is My Body, My Earth, The Practice of Somatic Archaeology.
Wow.
And that's what we use as a training tool. Still, it was published, maybe 30 years ago, and it still is the book that we use. It was, it all came together for me. I was down in the Virgin Islands, and I sat down there for 3 months, and the entire book came out. And then, I got it published, and it just transformed my life. The book as well.
The whole process, it sounds like.
Yeah. It tells us that things aren't static inside of us, that everything is energy. We only have four elements that make up everything we experience: air, fire, water, and earth. Those are the only four elements. Isn't anything else. And so it produces the food we eat, the houses that we have, the clothes that we wear, but it also imprints us with a deeper sense of belonging and ability to maybe tune into our environment. We create familiarity with certain things. And, when we're taken away from those things, especially like when um, the colonizers came over from Europe, they moved everyone around and, started wars and took lands that weren't theirs. And it created a big problem for the indigenous societies all around the world. And, when that happens, it's it's a takeover not only of a people, but of the land and all that the land can speak to us, right? Because there's graves in the earth, and there's all sorts of mysteries that we're holding on to that we don't know. And after someone has a session, they're like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. And it's just beautiful to see that illumination. So some people just need to dig once, and other people want to leave no stone unturned.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing that you get to the root of whatever it is, and is actually comes out in a glorious healing type of mechanism in your whole body.
Yeah, it is. And it's not hard. It's not complicated. It's simple because, you know, air relates to our mind, fire to our spirit, water to our emotions, and earth to our bodies. So we're made up of the same things, of those four elements. And when we put them together, especially on like a wheel, we can go around this wheel. We have the somatic archaeology wheel of suffering, somatic archaeology wheel of healing, and then the somatic archaeology wheel of transformation, which is the one that is most commonly used by my students and by those that I've trained. And it, it could transform anything, really. And as we transform ourselves, we look at the world different and people look at us different because we're no longer carrying those shackles of the past. So, our ancestors didn't talk that much, maybe, about their experiences.
Right.
And they held it, close to their hearts, but there was more social shame and other kinds of dynamics going on, years ago
Yeah.
when maybe our grandmothers were alive.
I mean, and just think of how much further, because you said 7 generations
Yeah.
going down both aspects of father and mother. So just think all the way down how the shame was all the way down 7 layers.
That's right. So it's 64 ancestors on your paternal side, 64 ancestors on your maternal side, for a total of 128 ancestors impacting us in this moment.
Wow. And wonder if we don't even know that ancestral train, because I call it, yeah, the
Yeah.
loop, the train, the lineage. Wonder if
Mhm.
you don't know that. How, is
Then,
healing still possible?
yes, of course. Yeah, you get to learn. And probably one of the most important things that I recognize and that I teach my students is that a woman is born with all the eggs she'll ever have. So when my mother was in her mother's womb, all of her eggs were created there. And that means that I was a little egg in my grandmother's womb, in my mother's womb. So when my mother's born, she's born with at least 2 million embryos. Every woman is. And then, as you age and as different things happen, our ovaries can change. We use up some of those eggs.
Mhm.
So, you know, think of it as that a woman, like everyone, not just women, men as well, are incubated in their maternal grandmother's womb. So whatever your maternal grandmother experienced is going to have the biggest impact on you
Wow.
because that's your first experience of biological life.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's the same if you go back to more generations. And, by the time a woman reaches menopause, the eggs are gone. They just kind of fade away. Where men produce sperm every day, it's not like something they've been holding on to. It's regenerated over and over again. And the older men get, the more breakdown in that sperm and those cells um, can be, which is why when men are usually over 60 or 65, they have a higher rate of producing a child who has learning disabilities or, I mean, there's a whole host of things because their sperm ages as well. And so it's, the process of evolution and generations are, it's so wise. Like our creator knew, I better put 2 million eggs in there to make sure that life continues to exist. Wow. I mean, that there's such a brilliance to our bodies.
Mm, yes, definitely. I mean, the body is just such a unique thing that was created. And it's just ever changing. I actually believe that we're still ever changing even as we age because of the simple reason of, our society and the awareness that we have, even like what you do and the awareness you bring can change us to be younger than what we actually are sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, am I right or wrong there?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, I always look at it that way that you just never know. So we're so into what you're doing, we haven't even gotten into the business side of life here because we
Well,
love what you do. So, just a business question, if you don't mind. You have a very successful, amazing business. Is there some that you did that helped grow that business that you don't mind sharing?
mhm. Um, I um, have a nonprofit organization called Freedom Lodge, and I'm the co-founder as well as the executive director. And when I first, well, we had it for a few years, but we never really had much money. And I finally went and sought out some funds. And I went to an organization and I actually applied for a job there as a Indigenous program coordinator. And they said, what would you do if we would ask you to create some kind of healing process that would impact women, Indigenous women, from Alaska all the way down to Mexico? And I said, well, that's a lot of different cultures. That's a lot of people, different languages, different experiences. I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what I would say. And then I realized that we had so many commonalities. And so I started looking at it through the lens of collective healing instead of individual healing. Because as a tribal unit, or even as a family unit, or any kind of culture, people heal together and they suffer together.
Mm.
And, it becomes part of a shared burden. So if you can work with an entire culture, then you can create a bigger change than just working with an individual. And so I wrote a proposal up about this work and gave it to them, and they were like, oh, that's excellent. We really like that. And then I ended up writing another one, and they're like, well, that one is good too. I wrote a third one, and they said, okay, that's plenty. We get the idea. You know what you're talking about. And I said, I'm like a flowering bush. The ideas just keep coming. So I went and met with them in New York City in a high rise, and I talked to them. Um, this is kind of a funny story, but they asked me and they said, "What brought you here?" And I said, "The grandmothers." And
I like, well, it's true.
yeah, that's, well, what do you mean the grandmothers? And I said, well, I had this dream once, and I was driving down the road going to a sweat lodge, called them Inipi ceremony. And in the right front seat was a grandmother, and in the back was the medicine man and his dog. And we were driving along, and the grandmother kept saying, "I think you should turn here, dear." And I said, "No, grandmother, I know where I'm going. Just relax." And I kept driving. And then she said, "Oh, I really think you should turn now." And I said, "No, I got it. I know where I'm going." And then the third time she said, "I really think you should turn." And I said, "No, I'm gonna keep going. Just relax. We're late." And the next thing I know, the road turns to gravel, and it then there's a creek, and then it goes up a hill into a park where people were playing frisbee and sitting on, their blankets, having lunch. And I said, "This is not the right place." And the medicine man got out of the car with his dog, and he got arrested for having a dog in the park. Like, everything kind of just went chaotic. And I was standing there scratching my head, trying to understand what was going on. And I looked over at the grandmother, and she winked at me. And so I went over and I said, "Yes." And she said, "The moral of the story, granddaughter, is to always let the grandmothers drive." And so I said, "Okay, I will never forget that." So since that day of that dream, I have let the grandmothers drive. So that's what I was saying to them. And I told them my dream. And I said, "The grandmothers brought me here." And they were laughing. They didn't know what to make of me, but they had read my book and, read all my proposals. So they said, "Well, we'll be in touch in a couple of weeks." So a couple weeks later, they contacted me and they said, "Well, we've decided to hire someone else who has more, nonprofit experience. And we're going to, hire her." And I said, "Well, that's okay. Thank you for your time and the opportunity." And he said, "But I have a question for you. Does Freedom Lodge have a bank account?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, we'd like to give you a grant." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Do I need to write a budget or a proposal?" "No, we already know how much we're going to give you." And we had maybe $20 in this account. And the next day I looked and there was $250,000 in there.
Oh my God, so amazing.
It was. And I was like, I mean, I dropped to my knees and started crying because I just couldn't believe, that good fortune.
The
And then
grandmothers. It's the
and then
grandmothers. I'm
we,
sorry.
yeah, we started going, going through the year, and we started developing the somatic archaeology protocols and classes. We started marketing everything, and then we used up the money. And it was the end of the year, and I thought, "Oh, well, that was fun." But they called me and they said, "Have you used up all your funds?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Well, we'd like to fund you again." And I said, "Oh, okay. Do you want me to write a budget or no? We don't need that from you right now. We have decided to give you $1.2 million every 3 years." So it was like 400,000 a year. And they did that for 3, 6, 9, 12 years. So we were so grateful and blessed with these resources that we were able to take somatic archaeology out into the indigenous world and we helped so many people. And I hired a group of researchers who came in and researched my work for 4 years. And they came out of it, and I wrote my first doctoral article in December of 2023. It was published at the University of Toronto.
Okay, that is the business strategy that worked. Okay, love the business strategy.
Well, it was like a miracle for me.
Oh, it's the grandmothers. I love
Yeah.
it. They told you to go.
Yes.
It's not funny. I mean, I believe in it. Hey, if they say go, go. Hey, the grandmother say go, go. That's oh my God, so amazing. All right.
So, it hasn't been difficult. It's like, when I'm ready, then it just comes, and it blessed me, my whole staff, the community, and we would go into different communities all around the United States and do cultural and group healings and conversations. We went to a lot of schools and worked with many, many youth. And yeah, it was such a beautiful experience.
That is perfect. Wait, I just want to say this because I always like to clarify. Oh, that's right. It was a grant. A grant, guys. How much money did you have to pay back for a grant, guys? Zero. She just had to use it for the wisdom and the gifts that she had. Oh my God. Guys, again, the grant is zero. If you don't know about grants, learn about them.
Started a nonprofit.
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about balance. You've been a business owner basically your whole life. So, an entrepreneur, 4 children, 5 grandbabies. The biggest question here is how do you balance it? Or do you?
I do. My family is very important to me. And my mother had 5 children, and we had a big family, many generations, and she just recently passed at the age of 93.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a great matriarch, and um, it it was so important for me that I create the same kind of vision that she had. And so, um, it happened quite naturally. And I did all my births at home. And I was just, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, and we were kind of back to earthers, and we just lived really close to the earth and to cycles and seasons. So we had that. But when I was in my early 20s, um, I joined a family, and they were taking in these foster children. And so the great grandfather is Frank Foolscrow. Was the chief spiritual leader of the Ogallala Sioux for many years. He's passed on now, but it was his great grandchildren. They were They didn't have enough food. They didn't go to school. They were sleeping in abandoned cars. It was very painful. So we went and got them all. We lived in a log cabin on the side of a mountain.
Oh,
And so, in addition to the other people living there, we took in 8 children for 2 years. And so we had 19 people living in the house. And giving birth at home, then the other woman, my dear friend Rhonda Aiken, she and I just, we 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 actually gave birth on the same day on New Year's Eve, 1983. We both gave birth because we did everything together, huh? Cooking, shopping, taking care of kids, went to bed at the same time, woke up at the same time, because we were busy little bees, and we both got pregnant at the same time. And on New Year's Eve, she woke up, she said, I'm in labor. And I said, I want to be in labor too. So I came out of that, like, I'm in labor. So we both gave birth with the same midwife in the same house on the same day.
wow.
I wrote an article about it they published it in Mothering Magazine, but it was just such an amazing experience. So I learned how to care for a lot of people
Mm.
while trying to, keep everything else together.
Now I know where your calm peace comes from because meditation and that, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I meditated every day for 20 years.
Wow.
That's what allowed me to really deepen into my purpose, I would say.
Yeah.
So, but those children taught me so much. And, when they were taken away after 2 years, their mother wanted them back. Um, and it was then that I went out and started my own career, in the work field. But I didn't work up until that point.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I felt well equipped, and I felt like I could juggle a lot, a dozen balls at the same time. It gave me some really good skills for time management, for caring for others while caring for myself, and all those things that are really important for therapists to know.
Wow. All right, let's jump to the fun side of life a little bit.
Well, that was fun for me.
Well, we're gonna have a little bit more fun right
Okay.
now. What about a favorite song you have? Do you mind telling us about that?
Yes, I love the singer Shelley Morning Song. And let's see, she wrote this book, she has a number of CDs, Shelley does, and it's called I Walk in Two Worlds.
Ooh,
And it's really beautiful. She has a lovely voice, and she's just been one of my favorite artists. I've met her before, and we've talked. So, I just respect her a lot.
that's amazing. And we already talked about your book, correct?
Yes, it's not a hard read. It's nothing too scientific. It's more about, our stories.
And the name of the book again.
My Body, My Earth, the Practice of Somatic Archaeology.
Oh, wow. Amazing. All right, what about a favorite quote? Oh, you got something else? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say that my daughter and I connected, and she's an artist, and we ended up developing a deck of cards.
Oh,
They're called My Body, My Breath instead of My Body, My Earth. And we use breath work and guided imagery to help us release stress, to help us stay grounded, so all of my students use these cards with their clients. and it's like a really good tool for them, and they're wonderful. And then I produced a audio CD of, well, they're not CDs anymore. Sorry, I'm old school. An audio version of 11 guided somatic archaeology meditations.
Oh, wow.
And so you can go to mybodymybreath.org and you can find all that there.
Oh, that's
All of,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. It's it was really fun to work together with her, and she's a wonderful artist. And one side has a beautiful picture and the other side shows like the how to do that meditation, how it will impact you, there.
And it's guided meditation, so that's perfect. Yeah,
Well, there's the cards and there's guided meditation. So,
combo. That's perfect because somebody like me who's hyper, I need guided.
well, one of the things we've been doing a lot is so many people have eye stress from just staring at the digital world and screens and phones. And so we take this deep breath in and exhale through our eyes so that it's not just constantly information going in, but we can also let it go. And
Wow.
it creates really big change for people.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, because when you release it coming out of your mouth, but if you release it from your eyes, what? Oh my God, yeah. I
Mhm.
can actually see where that would make a total difference. Thank you. How did you know I'm on the computer all the time?
Yeah.
All right. What about a quote?
Oh, yes, my quote. This is a poem that I wrote, and it's called I Am. I am the rock, I am the shore, I am the pulse, the ocean floor. I am the wind that sweeps your hair, the breath of love in every prayer. I am alone, I am apart, I am the vein, I am the heart. I am the sun that warms your back, the compassion that you lack. I am the womb, I am the cave, I am the woman, I am the brave. I am the water that you drink, the sound of peace in thoughts you think. I am the seed, I am the flower, I am the earth, I am the power.
Wow. That is amazing. That is like that just like gives clarity into I am and who you are and what you do even. Like it just brings it all together. So with that, what is the best way for our audience to stay connected with you?
Oh, let's see. You could go to my website, somaticarchaeology.com, and archaeology is the old-fashioned spelling. And there you can just see some of the classes that we offer and different information about me, bios, and other things. And we also have a school, SKOOL site, and it's our learning platform where we have a lot of material there and um, a lot of, I mean, I've been at this for 35, 40 years, right? So there's a lot of videos and teachings and different things on the website that you're welcome to explore. You can join our school, and I think it's not very much every month, but you can join there and learn more. You can have access to those guided meditations and many other things. So it's a great place to begin if you have any interest in somatic archaeology or if you just want to learn more.
Yep. So, Dr. Ruby, thank you for being on. Oh my God, you are a total blessing. Thank you for being here. I learned so much. 64 ancestors. Oh my word. Okay, thank you. Mm,
You're welcome. Thank you,
Thank you.
Angela.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.